Hello.
Hi!
How's everyone going? Are you there?
Did you have a good holiday time?
Are you still having a good holiday time?
Are you?
I hope so. I hope everyone is like drifting around in that between top place where it's not quite the new year yet.
I hope that all of them are alive because I think I said last week more women die right after Christmas.
Just start on a high note. Just go for it.
They never ever let me publish that in a magazine article, and now I see why. When I say it in public, it's like that's a terrible, terrible thing to say.
Well, in fairness,
Hi, Alexa and Cindy.
It's only the ones who are alive who are going to be tuning in.
That's true. That's true.
Hello, Lynette. Hi, Phil.
Hi.
River.
River, how you doing? And Monica.
Oh, you guys.
So good to see you guys.
Very nice to see
you. And Jessica and all the folks.
Yeah, you guys are all here. It's so nice. Nice to see you. Hope everyone's doing well and
relaxing. Hope you're relaxing.
Rest and rest and rest, you guys.
And
it's
just
amazing.
If anything in the holiday went weird and you feel offended or heartsick or miserable, just create or violent. Create lots of fun stories to tell your friends, because that is how you do when you're like a wayfinder. Wayfinders find a way to make things funny.
She's on.
If I were a true wayfinder, wouldn't I figure out something to do with my hair?
Your hair is great.
Okay.
Just tell her hair is great.
Don't tell me my hair is great. It's this sheer flattery.
She's edging me off screen as we speak.
Avast away. Hey, you guys. So I was thinking about, the new year, and New Year is great life coach territory, right? Because it's all about goals, goals, goals. One of my CEO, Jennifer Voss, went and she's done many coach trainings of many various ilks. And when she did, I just don't know how to deal with the ear. When she did, it's in between, it's in that in-between stage. She found out that most life coaches are pretty much focused on goals, whereas in our life coaching system, it's pretty much focused on what your soul wants and figuring that out, and then making it happen by magic. Yes, it's not practical at all, but it's so much fun. So even in our system, New Year's is a happy time because it's about a whole blank slate. Of course, it's only in our minds. It's just, we give new numbers to the days ahead, and it would be amazing, and it would be 2020, and all will be well. But we were talking this morning at our morning communion, which is the thing we do in our family. We have morning communion and evening communion. We just hang out and drink tea and talk about things. It's something I highly recommend for your year coming up. It will make your life so much better. We were talking about how when you set a resolution, like Karen and Ro are both going on a cleanse, dietary cleanse. They're going to be noble and eat no sugar and whatever they want to do. I don't know what it is. But the point is that they're going to do something that is hard, and they're going to do it by will. And that's how most of us set out to do things. And I'm not going to pass any judgments on whatever you decide you need to do. That's up to you. But I will say that the way most people go about trying to set resolutions is completely misguided. And we all end up shooting ourselves in the face, not just the foot, in the face. And the reason is that we treat our body-mind system like a machine. And we say, we're going to set it to do this. And it's going to do it because it's a new year and all the pressures of the holidays are off. And now I can force myself to do the things that I think I should. Obviously, there are things you're not already doing. So there's a part of you that thinks you should do them, but there's another part that isn't up for it. And here's where we get into problems. We try to force the part that isn't up for it to obey. And anybody who's ever tried to do anything by sheer willpower knows that what they call white knuckling in AA doesn't work long term. It doesn't matter if you're going to try to stop smoking or stop cursing at your children or whatever it is you're trying to quit. Sheer force is going to backfire. I don't say it may backfire. I say it absolutely will backfire. And in fact, it tends to have, it's not just a pendulum swinging back and forth. The more you try to force yourself to do something, the further it swings back. That's what happened to me when I was anorexic. I managed to starve myself when I was, this many years ago. I managed to starve myself for about 3 or 4 years. And then I just went nuts the other direction. I literally would eat twice as much food as I needed for the day before I could leave the house. It was almost as if there was a part of me that was a starved animal that had decided that I was going to keep starving it if it didn't take control and get something to eat right away. And it was a horrible, horrible time for me. That was probably the worst time of my life, when I couldn't control the part of me that I was trying to starve to death, which was my stated intention. I didn't just want to be thin. I wanted to be dead. So there you go. I thought it was like a sinless suicide. We don't even want to go there. A long time ago. Back to my point, white knuckling doesn't work. There's even, I think you guys have done with me the little exercise where I ask you not to think about polar bears for like 10 seconds and not to think about anything connected to polar bears. So nothing in the white snowy area, nothing that has to do with bears in general. So 10 seconds, no bears. That was only 5 seconds, but a lot of you probably thought about bears, and the rest of you are now thinking about bears, because the moment you try to suppress something in the brain has to go and look at it, and it brings it up into your attention, and it increases in your field of attention. So that's just a little example of how trying to suppress something actually causes it to go up. Now, I just finished watching his Dark Materials, which is an adaptation of Philip Pullman's books, The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and there's one more. I forgot. Somebody will tell me. Anyway, they're these sort of books for, certainly not just for children. They're not just for adults. There's sort of those tween-age books. And they're really, really beautiful. And this adaptation for HBO is incredible. And Philip Pullman creates a world which is similar to ours, but not quite. And one of the differences is that every person's soul is embodied in an animal. And the animal can't be too far away from the person, or they both suffer horribly. And when babies are born, they're born with a little animal, but it can change. It can become like, there's a baby who's born with a little green snake affectionately wrapped around her neck, or it could be a mouse, or it could be a moth. But when you're a little kid, your soul animal can change. And then when you hit puberty, it settles into its permanent form. So there's this dude who has like a snow leopard for his soul, and there's a woman who has a monkey, and they're called daemons, pronounced demon, but spelled D-A-E-M-O-N. So the whole worldview of these Golden Compass books is that the relationship between the person and their soul animal, their demon, is the most sacred and important bond there could possibly be. And all the drama is about people being separated from their souls, from their demons, and how certain systems want to take away children's connections, in particular to their souls. And you can see where he's making parallels to all kinds of things, organized religion, politics, whatever. But it's in the magic of this connection with the animal that that people work out their relationship to happiness. And I think it's kind of fun. I wrote a book called The 4-Day Win. Not my favorite thing. They published my rough draft. I try not to talk about it. I've never reread it. Please don't think about it. Don't pretend I never said anything. Oh, now you're going to think about it. Anyway, I wrote this book where I did tons and tons of research about how the brain works with habits and how it fights any attempt for the conscious will to suppress its natural desires. And it really is very much like there's an animal that is us, that is you. You have an animal demon or daemon. And mine was a wolf. I remember when I thought about it very clearly when I was 17, 18 years old. There was a wolf who was going to eat, whether I would let it or not. And I had no control over it. and it didn't want to hurt anyone, but it was more powerful than I was, and it was hungry. And it had the capacity to load on food when it needed it. And I don't blame it for not trusting me and for fighting me. So when we white knuckle something, any resolution you white knuckle will separate you from your soul. And in this case, we're going to think of your soul as an animal demon. So the first thing we're going to do is choose for yourself an animal demon. It could be anything. You can change them, but you can choose one now. And here's the deal. This animal demon is the part of you that does things you think you shouldn't do. So if you throw your clothes on the floor at night when you get undressed and you don't pick them up, think of that as being your demon doing it. Boom! It doesn't care about housekeeping. If you switch to, if you think you should be off the grid and not using electricity, but oh, you love to turn on your space heater and you find yourself doing it even when you tell yourself you shouldn't. That's your little house cat demon turning on like the radiator so that she can be warm or he can be warm. Think of the thing that you're trying to suppress with a resolution as an animal. Okay, now here is this exercise that I wrote about in the 4-day win, but we're going to do it now. So think of a resolution you would like to keep this year, and you've not been able to keep it so far, right? Something you probably have thought about for years. No success in keeping it. You are going to imagine now 2 versions of yourself, and you're going to put them in your outstretched hands. And I actually ask people when they do this to physically put out their hands, because it activates both hemispheres of the brain to have both your hands out like this. And the images we're going to create have to do with which hemisphere of the brain is running the animal and which hemisphere is running the machine, the rational goal-setting, resolution-making human that you think you are. So you're going to hold out your hands if your hands are free, and you're going to imagine that in your right hand, there's a little version of you that's like this big, and it looks the way you do now, except it's wearing an army uniform and like very high boots, and it carries a whip and a gun, and it patrols around your hand, and it tells you to do things. Do this. It wants you to sleep no more than 7 hours a night. Get up at 5, get up at 5, get up at 5 and exercise or whatever. It's an army general. Yeah, a dictator, in fact. It's the dictator of the little kingdom that is you, okay? So that's in your right hand. Now, in your left hand is your animal demon. So for me, it's a wolf, just randomly. That's what I'm liking that one today. So I'm gonna put the wolf in there. Love wolves, think they're awesome. And so my wolf does not want to get up at 5. My wolf enjoys sleeping much later than that. Now, notice a couple of things about the dictator in your right hand and the animal in your left hand. The first thing is that the dictator is trying to control the animal, and that it's doing it with means that are suppressive. It's sort of kicking and threatening and saying, you better do as I want you to. Then notice that the animal does not like being beaten on by the dictator, does not like being threatened. I went to dinner with a friend the other day who said a horse that is free always comes back to its pasture. So your animal demon wants to be free, and it hates it when you confine it and when you order it around, and also when you don't like it. You have feelings of hatred often toward this animal that does the thing you think you shouldn't do. Just sleeps way too late every morning, or it doesn't exercise, or it doesn't keep its room clean, or whatever. So notice that the animal self is tired of being beaten up on, but also notice that the dictator is exhausted from trying to control everything. In fact, both these creatures, both these versions of you are very tired of the conflict. They're so exhausted. So look at them both, like picture both of them in your hands. I know this sounds silly, but you got to just try it. Picture them, one in each hand. And then you're going to start noticing how tired they are, and you're going to allow both of them to rest. And you're going to say to both of them, may you be happy. May you have rest. May you be at peace. May you be well. May you feel loved. Now, can you see them going, oh, thank God, and starting to relax in your hands? The dictator slumps down and drops his gun. The wolf or the bunny rabbit or whatever relaxes and starts to curl up in a more relaxed position. And as you offer them good wishes, may you be happy, may you feel good, all of this stuff. Notice the peace that comes over the whole system, and then ask yourself the following question. If I'm watching the dictator and I'm watching the animal, who am I? Who's watching? Because I'm not the dictator and I'm not the animal. I'm the one offering them both good wishes. I'm the one who's offering love to both. And the answer to that is that what you're doing when you observe them both and you imagine them both, you activate both hemispheres of the brain. And when you offer them love, you come from a place that is in the center of the brain in the back, which is a different sense of self than the dictator and the animal. And there's no struggle there, there's compassion. And when you begin to bring compassion to the system, then you gently start to offer the animal rewards the way you would if you were training any wild animal. You wouldn't beat it or shock it or do it. That doesn't work. It just makes wild animals want to get away. But if you gently tempt it by treating it kindly and loving it and giving what it needs, then you may get it to say, wake up a little earlier. If you let it go to sleep earlier, if you're giving it what it needs, you may find that it's willing to exercise for you if you're really, really kind about not pushing it too hard. And little by little, in the way all exotic animals are trained, the exotic animal that is you will gently move toward the objectives set by your more cognitive mind. And if you do this bit by bit by bit, I swear to God, your resolutions are going to take this year. It's going to happen. I have lived to tell the tale. So I don't know if Roe's been getting any questions ready for us, but I'm going to ask the notorious badger to come back in and field some of these.
All right.
But most of you have been holding both hands up in the way I asked you to, so you probably don't have any messages typed. But now is the time you can do it.
Time to ask the questions. Alexa asks, what does it mean if my wolf, that's her animal, cries or appears sad when I'm sending it compassion?
Then that means that you're allowing it the space to heal. People don't cry when they lose their hope. They cry when they get it back. So the first thing, if you have exiled a part of yourself, or you've gotten rid of the animal as best you can, or you've been beating on it, hating it, emotionally or physically, doing anything to harm it, its first reaction is going to be to start grieving and to collapse and to want to trust you. But it won't trust you right away because you've mistreated it. So your job then, here's a resolution you could make: be kind to your animal. Stop abusing the animal inside you with self-hating or recrimination or excessive attempts at control. If it wants to cry, you let it cry and you comfort it. And you know that that's a natural process of healing. And as long as you create an atmosphere of love, the healing is inevitable. So you're doing very, very well if your animal curls up and starts to cry. It's a good thing.
That's nice. Okay, Donna asks, how do you stop the dictator from criticizing you and shouting awful slurs at the animal?
Oh, your dictator can do that if he wants. You don't have to stop it. You just wish the dictator well. You watch. So your dictator's like screaming and yelling and thrashing about, and you watch that and you say, wow, you don't seem happy. May you be happy. You don't seem vigorous. You seem exhausted. May you have rest. May you be able to let go. You seem so sad. You seem so scared. May you feel safe. May you feel loved. Just watch and you offer love. You never control the system. You love everything in the system, and it starts to function like an ecosystem. It starts to work toward optimal health, whatever that may be. Yeah, good question.
Melanie points out that it's like Mary Oliver's lines about letting the soft animal of the body love what it loves.
Yeah. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. All you have to do is let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. The
Yeah.
Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. Now we hear them going past our house all the time.
They just keep announcing our place in the family of things.
I know.
That's
I think I'll make
wonderful.
my animal demon be a goose next time.
Alrighty, we have, is there a difference between the animal and the resistance? Karen says, she says, as in Stephen Pressfield.
I don't know the Stephen Pressfield reference, but I do believe that there are different kinds of resistance. We can resist the animal nature of ourselves, which I think is a mistake, and the animal resists control. Everything in us resists control. It's so interesting because one of the main things we do with our lives is try to control everything. And one thing we absolutely cannot do is control anything. Like, we have tiny little fragments of control. And other than that, it's just it's chaos out here, guys. And we have so little ability to even modify the chaos, much less control it. So yeah, there's resistance to any kind of control, and resistance is futile.
As we know all too well.
Just relax, just be kind.
So Pam, hi Pam, says, is it that the love you are sending kind of moderates, keeps the pendulum from swinging wildly from side to side?
It actually doesn't. The pendulum may still swing for a while. This system has its own energy, and the further you've pushed it in one way, the further it'll swing back. What love does, I should make an exception, is like if you have a massive enlightenment experience that's very sudden, and such things have happened once in a billion cases. But in that case, the whole system will equalize right away, and there'll be no more stress and no more pendulum. But for most of us, love grows step by step by step, and self-love grows step by step by step. So what happens is that the more love there is, the less the pendulum swings. We don't try to force ourselves to do things that aren't innately healthy for us. So we don't experience resistance from our animals. What will happen, though, and we are making a podcast about this year. That is one of our resolutions. One thing that will happen is that the more you go into love, the more independent you will become of culture. So everything people want you to do will take a backseat to what the true natural animal wants to do. Ultimately, what you'll get is the self as a loving being whose objective is compassionate delight in everything, as an ally of an animal demon and a really, really smart, talented, fabulous human. So it won't be a dictator anymore, but it'll be an exotic animal trainer and her orca or something. You know, you're going to have this incredible team. It's almost like a superhero setup of a human neocortex brain, making decisions, planning things in the abstract, calculating stuff. You can go to the moon, you can do anything, along with the wildness and the presence and the curiosity and the joy of the creature, the animal. We went to my daughter Kat and her husband Scott's house they just moved to Pennsylvania. Yes. And we were there for the very first fire they made in their new fireplace on solstice night.
Yes.
And they have a cat who was born in Arizona and has never seen fire. And it's an orange cat. So Scott was taking these amazing pictures of the cat, trying to figure out what fire is, right?
Move forwards, move back. Check it out from behind a box.
It was, and I was watching it and I thought, when I've talked to people who are I think are enlightened, Byron Katie, I think Anita Morjani's right up there. She is something. They have the curiosity of an animal that's never seen fire, looking at fireworks. They're like continuously amazed in a way that's really visceral and physical. They're not like off on some cloud, except that they also don't experience the world as being particularly problematic. Like, problems are easily solved and their minds work very, very well. But the mind is serving this creature who's whose reason for being is compassion and joy, whose vehicle is an animal, and whose analyst is a human, basically.
That's cool.
And it's a really fun way to be physical. It is. As long as we're here, we might as well. Might as well try it.
God, what's it for otherwise?
Look, I made an elk. There's an elk behind us. Elk. Sorry. I just thought it was nice. We have an animal. I've never had an animal in here.
That's lovely.
Picture of an elk in Utah.
Speaking of the animals, there's a couple of people who would like to know, and some of them came late, about the significance of the animal that you choose.
Yeah, it's really fun. If you've read the Golden Compass books, the way Philip Pullman assigns people different animals based on their personalities. So the guy whose demon is a snow leopard is he's sort of aloof and arrogant and sort of otherworldly. He's a scientist, but he's also a mystic. And he goes up into these high mountains and does research on the nature of things. And the snow leopard is perfect as his demon. And there's this woman who's always interfering with everything and trying to control everything. And her demon is a monkey. But interestingly, she hates her own demon. She's always smacking him and doesn't love him at all. But she's got this very meddling mind. So Philip Pullman gives her a monkey. And the monkey's good, but the woman doesn't know it. So choose an animal demon, just in your imagination, who just fits your mood right now. I like it when the children's animals can change, because I think our animals actually do change throughout life.
Yeah, someone made that point. Absolutely. All right, so Dee Dee says, have you ever held someone else's dictator an animal and seen a change in them by giving them love? I've done a version of this and it's amazing how they settle. So have you done it with anyone else?
That is a great insight, and that is a huge, we should probably codify that as a coaching tool, because so much of what we do is about creating a space and just observing. This is what I see, we call it the body compass, whatever's physical. This is what I see you needing in your animal self, and this is what I see you thinking in your brain, and the two aren't compatible, but they're both loved. So that is exactly what I've been doing for 30 years with people in coaching sessions. And you can do it. It's not a professional tool. You can do it as a way of relating to literally anyone in the world. But I will warn you of one thing. If you start being willing to compassionately observe people's animal selves and their dictator selves, their mental selves, and you start to comment on, oh, both sides seem exhausted, why don't we offer them both love? Those people will follow you home. They will want to be your friends forever, and they potentially will just give you money even if you don't ask for it. It's a very, very useful technique of living.
All right, I have a couple of people are asking about using the dictator demon exercise. Should it be like a daily practice? How do you want people to?
It's funny, even when I was doing it on here, and I had my hands out and I started to do the loving kindness suggestions, I could feel literally from my computer this field of energy. And I know that sounds wonky, but I'm as old as the hills now, and I can just say anything I want.
We're among friends.
I could feel the field of energy coming out of it. And I have to say, I've done this exercise with a lot of clients, with a lot of crowds, like when I'm speaking in public, and I have never found an exercise that makes the energy power up so fast and so far. There is really some serious neurology in this, but there's also serious magic. So I would do it every day. I think it's a great way to start a meditation. It's a great way to start the day. It's a great way to start writing your journal. What does your animal have to say today? What does the dictator have to say? And just offer them both love. See where they both are every day. See what your demon wants to be that day. Maybe it's a butterfly. Maybe it's a walrus. Different types of day, right? And make sure that your dictator is gently and lovingly suggesting things to the animal rather than trying to beat the animal with sticks and rakes and instruments of destruction. Yes. So if you do this, you guys, you will create the most incredible things in 2020. You will be able to change everything in your life in the most gentle, magical, really powerful way I can imagine. I promise.
Absolutely.
Check back next year.
Well, we'll all be checking back next year.
We love you so much. Thank you so much for showing up every weekend and for letting us have a week off so generously, like you could control it. And let's all have an amazing 2020.
Yeah.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Love you all.